We're moving into the time of the return of Jesus. I want to be that generation that says, yes, Lord, we covered the face of the earth with the gospel. Just as fear went across the face of the earth in one day, so will the Holy Ghost in one day. There'll be one move of God that comes on the face of the earth. And when that happens, the sky will split and the trumpet will blast. And the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords will come back on a white horse, and on his thigh will be King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and a sword will come from his mouth to judge the nations. That's the legacy.
Hey, good afternoon. Evangelist Larry here from the River Church. Welcome to the Rapture Show. We have a special guest, Riley Wooten, in the studio with us, just observing. She's kind of our intern. She's going to help Deacon Neil with all the technical aspects of our show today. And I have my co-host, Google, right here. So, we want to jar your memory of the good old days back during that great time we all just, look back on with fond memories of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, the planned-demic, all the different, ways we used to make fun of it. But so it was an event that, like never before in world history have we ever seen any one event impact the entire world. Every nation, every culture, everyone was impacted by the pandemic. So, but how quickly we forget. Like, it's funny how I watch all Reuters News, Fox News, I watch CNN, I watch Al Jazeera News. And so I try to get news all over the world every day just to keep up with stuff. And it's funny how you go through these phases where, like, it's like life-changing, epic things going on in politics, or just even the worst catastrophe ever. And that's the story of the day. And then it seems like it changed everything, and everybody's watching and listening. And then a month later, everybody forgets. I mean, the whole world just has a memory that's maybe literally 6 months long. You can impeach a president, and 6 months later, it's like it never happened. Our collective cultural memory is super short. So I want to just jar your memory with what it was like to go through the pandemic. We all have memories of it. I remember that day when they shut down Salem, and it was an eerie feeling, man. No cars, and you could just imagine that not only here in Salem, but all around the whole planet, everything at one point. There was a couple of weeks there where everything in the whole world was shut down, and how easy we forget. So Google and I found a series of videos we want to show you. It's about 15 minutes worth of videos, but if you pay attention, it's going to jar your memory. It's going to haunt you even, and you're going to remember what it was like for you. It's going to trigger those memories of what it was like for you to have gone through all that. We all went through it together. So we got 6 little videos we want to show. Go ahead and cue those up, and let's just go ahead and watch those. wall-to-wall cars. Especially that area right there of Philippines. I've been there. You can't even cross the street there. Saving the world, one economy at a time. New York City, look at that. You'll never see that. India is literally the most populated, densely populated place on the planet. That's just wall-to-wall people all day, every day. Just barren. People panic from a virus, a flu virus. Even the most common flu viruses kill nearly almost that many people every year. They fail to mention that. So here's Europe.
Ja, det fordi vi utilfredse med de regler, der kommer nu også med både vaccinepas og mod en sygdom, der ikke farlig. Der mange læger, der har sagt, at den ikke mere farlig end almindelig influenza. Og influenza har der været i mygge år, så jeg tænkte, at nu har vi fået nok. Altså, nu gider vi ikke mere, så jeg har været med.
All right, Kim, what's on your radar this morning?
Well, we've been talking a lot here in the U.S. about vaccine mandates and hesitancy, but I want to show you what's been going on around the world that hasn't been getting any real coverage here in the States. In numerous countries, thousands upon thousands of people have been protesting vaccine mandates and passports. I want to show you some footage. Here in Italy, thousands of people have been protesting the country's green pass. The pass requires either proof of vaccination, a negative test within the past 48 hours, or proof of prior infection within the past 6 months. Now, this is for any and all international travel, indoor restaurants, theaters, and gyms. In early September, it was extended to long-distance train rides, buses and ferries, domestic flights, and parents entering schools. Now it's been extended to every single worker in the country of both private and public businesses. At times, the protesters have turned violent as they've stormed the headquarters of Italy's largest labor union. The protesters then headed towards the prime minister's office, where they were met with water cannons and tear gas. Nancy Pelosi actually happened to be in Rome visiting the country's leaders when chaos from the protests broke out. And the speaker and her husband actually had to be whisked from a church that they were visiting to safety. Even Jared Leto, who was in Rome for his band, 30 Seconds to Mars, he says that he was accidentally tear gassed by the police. Now, these protests have been going on for weeks. Now, in Italy is showing no signs of letting up, despite the fact over 80% of the population is vaccinated. In Switzerland, people must show a COVID certificate, which grants a person access to indoor bars, restaurants, large gatherings, including weddings and train rides, and even checking into some hotels if they've been fully vaccinated. You can show a recent negative test, or you can show prior infection. For the past 6 weeks, thousands of Swiss citizens have taken to the streets to protest the mandates, while police have shot off water cannons and rubber bullets. Amsterdam has seen widespread protests, with people carrying signs that read, "QR is going too far" and "Unvaccinated lives matter." Reports say some protesters were even displaying faux gallows. The Netherlands has implemented a COVID pass that restricts Dutch citizens from entering restaurants, bars, and other select indoor spaces unless they show their pass. And the Dutch government was going to require the pass for even outdoor dining terraces, but the pushback over the past couple of months has caused them to scrap those plans. Israel sparked widespread protest after the country announced their third booster shot is required for their green pass to be valid. In order to be considered fully vaccinated and allowed into most indoor venues, Israelis must show proof of 3 shots or show proof of 2 doses within the past 6 months. Once 6 months have passed from the second dose, a person must get the third or their pass becomes inactivated. France has been seeing nonstop protests for some time now, even before COVID, when yellow vests took to the streets every weekend for months on end. Now the protests are over vaccine mandates, which require people to show a COVID passport to enter any restaurants, cafes, other indoor venues, and even ride public transportation. Luxembourg citizens protested their version of a COVID pass in what they called a marche blanche, where protesters were dressed in all white, carrying white balloons. The new mandate, which takes effect November 1st, excludes the ability to test negative using a low-cost at-home test. Instead, citizens will be required to show either proof of vaccination or get tested professionally at a facility. And the pass is necessary to enter any indoor venues, such as restaurants and bars. Thousands of Greek citizens have been taken to the streets for the past few months to protest the country's COVID passports and mandates. Some healthcare workers are required by law to be vaccinated, and Greek citizens who are fully vaccinated are issued freedom passports, which allow them unrestricted access to anywhere they want to go. The Minister of Health said the goal was to protect the vaccinated, but also to protect the unvaccinated, who are much more at risk. Romanians have also been protesting against COVID passports. Thousands of people took to the streets in a massive display with signs that read, "Freedom without certificates." Slovenians were met with water cannons during their protests. Thousands of people are angry over their country's vaccine passports to enjoy a normal life. And Australia, well, Australia is a whole other story. I could do an entire segment on just what's been happening there. But the long and short of it in regards to protests is people are not only targeted with water cannons and rubber bullets, but their police are actually beating them with batons, and they're being met with other violence. It's quite insane what's going on in Australia right now. But here in the United States, leave it to the New Yorkers to express their outrage. The city implemented a strict digital COVID passport system for those fully vaccinated and for those who have tested negative. Unlike the countries in Europe, New York City will not accept proof of previous infection. People need to show the digital pass in order to enjoy the, quote, spoils of the city, as Mayor Bill de Blasio put it. Essentially, if you want to enjoy any entertainment or dining in the city, you need to show the pass. So it's really interesting, all of these protests that have been going on around the world. We haven't really seen these in the news much, but I mean, they are massive. We are talking in some countries, hundreds of thousands of people marching in the streets to protest either the mandates or the passports of some kind. So, I mean, it's just been an overwhelming showing. And it's interesting how here in the U.S., we're really only seeing a massive showing in New York City. We've seen smaller protests, like Olympia, Washington had a little protest. Even here in Los Angeles, there's maybe one little one outside of the mayor's house. But for the most part, the U.S. hasn't seen these huge uprisings like what's been going on in Europe, besides New York City. I mean, why do you think that is?
The next video is going to show us.
Because, Americans are known for being freedom-loving, and a lot of people want to say, it's all these right-wing, far-right people.
This next video,
but where are they in the U.S. compared to Europe? I mean,
it's going to show the first 6 minutes.
Mandates are driving more protests in major cities. In Chicago, the police union there rallying against the mandate for all city workers to get that vaccination. Union leaders say more than 20 officers have been placed on no-pay status for refusing to follow the mandate.
The city doesn't want to allow the officers to choose for themselves what's right for them. And for me, that's all about control.
Meanwhile, in New York City, thousands marching against the city's mandate today. This comes after a protest outside the Brooklyn Nets arena while the game was going on. Demonstrators broke down barriers trying to get inside, but were turned back.
An arrest in connection with a stabbing last month at dueling vaccine protests in downtown Los Angeles. Protesting occurring outside LA City Hall on August 14th. Vaccine supporters holding a No Safe Spaces for Fascists rally, and those opposed holding a Choose Freedom march against medical tyranny. The two rallies devolved into a short melee where a stabbing victim suffered a lacerated heart and punctuated lung, but was suspected to survive. Video shows a second stabbing. That victim has yet to come forward.
Tensions are rising across the country over vaccine mandates as unvaccinated workers face deadlines to get their shots. CBS's Michael George in New York, where first responders are in the spotlight. Michael.
Erica, good evening. Right now, the FDNY's vaccination rate is at 77%, and the NYPD's is at 84%. And that could rise over the weekend, but there's a lot of concern about what happens if thousands of officers, firefighters, and city workers are put on unpaid leave. Garbage is piling up in some New York neighborhoods. Sanitation crews apparently skipping pickups to protest one of the toughest vaccine mandates in the nation. Angry protests broke out this week leading up to Monday's deadline. City workers, including police and firefighters, have to prove they're at least partially vaccinated or go on unpaid leave.
Response times are going to go through the roof.
Union leaders predict up to 20% of fire companies will close. The mayor says he has contingency plans.
Mandatory overtime, scheduling changes.
Mandate battles are raging in other cities. The Los Angeles Police Union is suing over details of the city's vaccine requirements. While in Chicago, the mandate for city workers to report their vaccine status survived challenges in federal court and in the city council, where Mayor Lori Lightfoot made an impassioned speech.
The people that are unvaccinated are playing Russian roulette with their life, and they're playing Russian roulette with the lives of their families, their neighborhoods.
Chicago's police superintendent says fewer than 24 officers have been placed on no-pay status for refusing to comply. And on Friday, the FDNY suspended 6 of its own members for a month after they allegedly drove a fire truck to a state senator's office and threatened his staff in protest over the vaccine mandate. Erica?
Michael George, thanks.
If you don't know this, mandate is not law. Mandate is just a recommendation unless you consent.
The world pushed back.
Para que estamos aquí, defenderte a ti, para que estamos aquí.
Basically had the permission to leave the house in those 3 places.
Manifestazione No Green Pass Milano.
Anyone on the street that didn't have a vaccine pass. Huge protests. This is just showing some of them, but it was literally worldwide.
תדליקו אורות שם גם מאחורה, אנחנו לא רואים אתכם. תדליקו אורות. Geldiğiniz için sizleri tebrik ediyorum. Ve öncelikle demek istiyorum ki herkes bilsin. Köle olmayacağız. Bu düzenin kölesi olmayacağız. Haykırıyoruz. Kendi
Watch the video. You might not even everything. So, like a precursor to the mark of the beast, just the vaccine mandate. The World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum actually took sovereignty over even the United States banking system at one point, declared it an emergency, and literally had authority over every single bank account on the entire planet at one point. So that system of what you might think of as will be the mark of the beast, you won't be able to buy or sell anything. Be a one world currency, one world government. You won't be able to buy anything unless you won't be able to buy or sell unless you have it. And it was getting very close until people just said, nope, we're not complying. So, I believe it was the Antichrist grooming the world for his takeover to see how much of the world would comply. Maybe a test run. Just an amazing worldwide event that we all went through together. So we're going to read a series of Bible verses right now that take us from the book of Daniel, who actually does more to describe the Antichrist and the beast and how the Antichrist takes over the world. And so we're going to read in the New Living Translation a series of Bible verses here right now. And thank you to everybody who's online watching. Wesley Curry, Rafad Weeks, Austin Brown, Heather Taylor. Love you guys. StreamYard. Thanks for watching today. So starting with Daniel 7, 2 through 3 in the New Living Translation. In my vision that night, Daniel says, I, Daniel, saw a great storm churning the surface of a great sea with strong winds blowing from every direction. In my vision that night, I, Daniel, not going to read it again here. So verse 3. Then 4 huge beasts, he sees 4 huge beasts come up out of the water, each different from the others. So these beasts, now we read in Daniel 7, 23 through 25. Then he said to me, another part of this vision, this 4th beast is the 4th world power that will rule the earth. It will be different from all the others. It will devour the whole world, trampling and crushing everything in its path. Verse 24, its 10 horns are 10 kings who will rule that empire. Then another king will arise, different from the other 10, who will subdue 3 of them. 25, he will defy the Most High and oppress the holy people of the Most High. He will try to change their sacred festivals and laws, and they will be placed under his control for a time, times, and half a time. So a time is a year, 2 times is 2 years, so we're at 3.5 years is the first half of the Great Tribulation. That during that 7 years of the Antichrist treaty with the world, that peace treaty that puts him in power. So now let's jump to Daniel 9, 26 through 27. Daniel 9, 26 through 27. After this period of 62 sets of 7, the anointed one will be killed. So Daniel 9, 26 through 27. So of New Living Translation. So this right here, actually 9:26, is Daniel foretelling of the death of the anointed one. So which was supposed to happen at the decree given in Babylon to allow Israel to come back and rebuild the temple. And Daniel got told by this angel that it would be 483 years from that decree that we know was given by Xerxes. We see that even in the National Museum in Israel. You can see that actual document. So Daniel is saying that from that decree, it would be 483 years to the death of the anointed one, which is pretty profoundly specific. And so you look at history and you see literally exactly the anointed one born in Bethlehem at that exact time foretold by Daniel. So the verses I wanted to read to you, Daniel 9:26 through 27, I must have the address wrong, so I'm just going to read them to you. Just hold that right there. These verses in Daniel. The end will come with a flood. So this verse is not Daniel 9:27, but it's the end will come with a flood. This is pertaining to the Antichrist. And war and its miseries are decreed from that time to the very end. The ruler will make a treaty with the people for a period of 1 set of 7. So it is that exact verse. But after half this time, he will put an end to the sacrifices and offerings And as a climax to all his terrible deeds, he will set up a sacrilegious object that causes desecration. So I'm thinking of the other prophecy of when the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, 483 years from the decree to allow Israel to come back to Babylon and rebuild the temple. So yes, Daniel 9:26 is the verse I wanted to read, and I'll read it again. The end will come with a flood. So he's talking about the end of the world will come with a flood, like a flood, and war and its miseries are decreed from that time to the very end. The ruler will make a treaty with the people for a period of one set of 7, so that's 7 years, but after half this time, he will put an end to the sacrifices and offerings, and as a climax to all his terrible deeds, he will set up a sacrilegious object that causes desecration. All right? So this is the Antichrist, the beast, the false prophet, and the beast sets him up, and the Antichrist walks into the temple in Israel, the newly rebuilt temple, over the spot where the Al-Aqsa Mosque sits right now. It's the Ezekiel 40 temple. Right now, the Temple Institute in Israel is rebuilding. They have the plans to rebuild the temple to those exact dimensions in Ezekiel 40, and they have it all prepared. They've got the priests in school. They've got the menorah. They've got all of the tools and everything it takes to do sacrifices, all in place. So we're talking about this beast, right? So the beast, the mark of the beast. So the grooming of the world in this test run, so to speak, to see how much of the world would comply to his government overreach is what I believe we saw during that pandemic. So Revelations 13, let's go ahead and read that in the New Living Translation. So Revelations 13. Then I saw a beast rising up out of the sea. It had 7 heads and 10 horns, with 10 crowns on its horns, and written on each head were names that blasphemed God. This beast looked like a leopard, but it had the feet of a bear and the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave the beast his own power and throne and great authority. I saw that one of the heads of the beast seemed wounded beyond recovery, but the fatal wound was healed. The whole world marveled at this miracle and gave allegiance to the beast. They worshiped the dragon for giving the beast such power, and they also worshiped the beast, who is as great as the beast. They exclaimed, "Who is as..." Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Getting a phone call. All right. So they worship the dragon for giving the beast such power, and they also worship the beast, who is as great as the beast. They exclaimed, "Who is able to fight against him?" Hey, Haley, could you come and get my phone for me so it doesn't go off like that? I forgot. I bought a new phone today, and I actually don't know how to turn it off. So maybe even just set it outside in case it rings again. Appreciate it. Kylie, wow, my helper today. So anyway, here, without interruption, we're going to read that once again. I saw that one of the heads of the beast seemed wounded beyond recovery, but the fatal wound was healed. The whole world marveled at this miracle and gave allegiance to the beast. They worshiped the dragon for giving the beast such power, and they also worshiped the beast. And they asked this question, "Who is as great as the beast?" They exclaimed, "Who is able to fight against him?" Then the beast was allowed to speak great blasphemies against God, and he was given authority to do whatever he wanted for 42 months. All right? So that's 3.5 years. That's the second half of the Great Tribulation. And he spoke terrible words of, just set it outside, babe, just so it doesn't ring. No, it's fine. Just go ahead and set it out on the table. That way, if it rings, it doesn't go off. He spoke terrible words of blasphemy against God, slandering his name and his dwelling. That is, those who dwell in heaven. And the beast was allowed to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And he was given authority to rule over every tribe and people and language and nation. And all the people who belong to this world worship the beast. They are the ones whose names were not written in the book of life that belongs to the Lamb who was slaughtered before the world was made. Anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. Anyone who is destined for prison will be taken to prison. Anyone destined to die by the sword will die by the sword. This means that God's holy people must endure persecution patiently and remain faithful. He's talking about the Jews that were not in the rapture. Then I saw another beast come up out of the earth. He had 2 horns like those of a lamb, but he spoke with the voice of a dragon. He exercised all the authority of the first beast, and he required all the earth and its people to worship the first beast whose fatal wound had been healed. He did astounding miracles, even making fire flash down to earth from the sky while everyone was watching. And with all the miracles he was allowed to perform on behalf of the first beast, he deceived all the people who belonged to this world. He ordered the people to make a great statue of the first beast who was fatally wounded and then came back to life. He was then permitted to give life to his statue so that it could speak. Then the statue of the beast commanded that anyone refusing to worship it must die. Then he required everyone, small and great, now listen to this, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead, and no one could buy or sell anything without that mark, which was either the name of the beast or the number representing his name. So the mark of the beast, anyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, will be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead, and no one will be able to buy or sell anything without that mark. Real quick, jump to 14, 9 through 11. Revelations 14, 9 through 11 in the New Living Translation. So then a third angel followed them, shouting, anyone who worships the beast and his statue, or who accepts his mark on their forehead or on their hand, verse 10, must drink the wine of God's anger. It has been poured out full strength into God's cup of wrath, and they will be tormented with fire and burning sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and the Lamb, verse 11. The smoke of their torment will rise forever and ever, and they will have no relief day and night, for they have worshipped the beast and his statue and have accepted the mark of his name. So by receiving the mark of the beast, you are literally condemned to hell. You have complied with the mandate of the Antichrist. All right? So that's verse 11. So from that, we're going to jump real quick to Revelations 20, 4 through 5, the last verse about the mark of the beast. Then I saw thrones, and the people sitting on them had been given the authority to judge. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for their testimony about Jesus and for proclaiming the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or his statue, nor accepted his mark on their forehead or their hands. They all came to life again, and they reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. So not only do they lose their life, but the punishment for not accepting the mark of the beast was very specific. You lost your head. You were beheaded. All right? So now real quick, let's look at a billing code we found online. This is a billing code Google found for me. It's the Obamacare billing code that was added to the Obamacare healthcare system. So if you can see that, I hope it's not too small. This is the code that a doctor would use. So this was added in 2020 during the pandemic to the Obamacare healthcare system. Now this is the billing codes for a doctor who performs any kind of healthcare on somebody. So when he's provided those services, he can charge you. And so this is the billing code on the government website for the Obamacare healthcare system. So it's code E978. It was added in 2020, and it's the legal execution billing codes. So if you go down here, any services provided by a doctor that include executions performed at the behest of the judiciary or ruling authority as beheading or decapitation. You would use this code, E978, to get paid. Then down the list you have beheading, decapitation, by guillotine. One is by, and then there's other ones, other different ways that doctor can get paid back for providing these different capital punishments. So, I mean, how ironic. They add to the Obama healthcare plan a billing code for doctors for if you get beheaded. Oh my gosh. I mean, ironically, the exact same punishment that you'll receive for refusing to receive the mark of the beast. This vaccine seeming in similarity as this government overreach to mandate vaccines all over the entire world, even though we push back and refuse to comply. So now here's another really very super interesting question I want to ask Google. So Google, how many people worldwide are using this kind of technology, the microchip technology, right now on their hand and forehead already? All right. So while it's difficult, Google says, to pinpoint an exact number, it's estimated that between 50,000 and 100,000 people worldwide have implanted microchips in their hands or foreheads already. Some use them for access control, payment, or storing medical information. Kevin Warwick, a British cybernetics expert, was among the first to have a microchip implanted in his arm in 1998. NPR reported on thousands of Swedes adopting this technology. BBC reported on a Polish-British paytech startup creating a microchip implant for countless payments. And then go on to the next page if we have that available. Or did we just get a screenshot of that one page? So the other page describes the technology that it could be used for. And actually, oh yeah, okay, so this is actually the technology that a company created to mix a microchip in with future vaccines. So they've already planned even a microchip to be included in your vaccine for future uses for COVID-19 vaccines. Already doing it. Technology startup Epicenter has developed a microchip implant capable of storing COVID-19 vaccine information. But some social media users claim the invention belonged to Microsoft. Examples of false claims are viewable. The posts read, in part, human trials will start this. So let's go on to the next page. It was just a rumor that Microsoft did it, but it was actually Epicenter. And then it says Hans Schoblad, Chief Disruption Officer for Epicenter, says the completely removable implants are a very versatile technology that can be used for many different things, and points to the convenience as a primary reason to have a COVID-19 vaccine passport. So it's a built-in passport. As December 17, 2021, YouTube video report by the South China Morning Post identifies Swedish startup Epicenter as a developer of a COVID-19 vaccine passport. Epicenter made the news several years ago when the company began placing chips in willing employees. The company has evolved to using the technology for COVID-19 passports for when you get your vaccine. Next page. Okay, that was the last page. So already that technology is in place for the vaccines to have already in it implant that is what I would just consider probably the forerunner to the mark of the beast. So, you know, you can like say, yeah, you know, maybe not, but you know, also at the same time, like we're seeing literally the fulfillment of Scripture. I think probably if you had said maybe even 75 years ago that it's possible to have a mark on your hand or forehead, you know, that would give you the ability to buy and sell things, and without it, you would not even be able to participate in the marketplace. You wouldn't be able to. So when you looked at those verses, you know, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, and you read, you know, that someday the Antichrist was going to mandate the acceptance of this mark called the mark of the beast, or you would not even be able to participate in life. You would envision it in a real primitive form of what we're seeing now, the capacity to actually like put your bank account information in there, put your medical records in there, put literally that you have been vaccinated, so that when you show up at the museum, when you show up downtown to ride the transit, you go to the bank or a grocery store, you walk in and it's going to automatically scan you to see and make sure that you've complied with this government mandate to conform to this not only one world currency, but even a one world government that's literally in charge of everything. So it was just kind of eerie to go through that pandemic period and just sit back and realize, wow, I can't even go to the bank and take out $600 without reporting it, without this World Economic Forum and its sovereignty over the United States banking system. This government entity that's not even a part of our own country, and literally not feel this eerie sense that something very sinister was going on. I remember watching the World Health Organization starting to put together their plan to bring in everyone into this one system, where they were saying the only way we're going to survive this pandemic is if we all unite as a world and come in under one government that's going to get us through this. And so what we're going to do, what their premise was, we're going to all sell everything that we own will all be collectively owned by this actual government entity. And so you won't even own your own property. Everybody, he said, everybody will have a home that they won't own, and they'll like it. And it showed these videos where we were all just happy being collective, obedient members of this government that was going to take care of even where we lived. Nobody was going to have to go out and even earn enough money to pay a mortgage. We were all just going to have our own house to live in, and everybody collectively was going to work for the good of one another. And somehow we were going to like as a worldwide community, produce enough food and produce enough of industry and technology and goods and manufacturing to where we would all be in this system where we collectively, through, I think what they were calling a credit system, where just like in China, we're already seeing it right now. In China, literally, the access you have to goods and the home you lived in and how much money you earned is actually regulated by your ability to conform to government regulation. So it's literally them. The incentive for you to be successful is to comply with the government policies governing their country, not based on how well you do your job, not based on your education, not based on your skill level, what trade you have, but literally your credit score is what dictates how nice the house you lived in was, how much your income is. So this is what the World Health Organization was putting out there that would unite all of us and make us all happy. And it was going to be how we were going to survive this virus that changed the world. And they said the world will never, it's the new normal, they called it. And we'll all, I forget the exact wording of the slogan, but we'll all like it. We'll all be happy. And it showed all these videos. So all this government overreach, very likely the Antichrist grooming the world for what we see exactly specifically in Scripture from the book of Daniel and revealed in the book of Revelation, as we see this rise of the Antichrist. All right, so I think you might think this is all way down the road at some point, but if you remember the pandemic, just Wuhan, China, like crept into the news, and I think within like a week they were shutting down China, and then like overnight we saw reports that somebody got on a plane and brought it over here, and it was literally a matter of weeks, and we were months, real quick. We were locking down everything, mandating everything, testing everyone. You couldn't even in some places even go out of your house. California, I had a friend that had to ask permission from the state of California because he had COVID to have his sister be able to live in his house with him. So even they were spreading people apart, even kicking people out of their own homes in California just to make sure that he didn't give her COVID-19. They went to his house and told him that his sister had to live somewhere else temporarily. So we're probably reaching the end of our broadcast today. Just wanted to remind everybody of that great time of the pandemic that we all have such fond memories of, and just remember that eerie feeling. Pastor Rodney right now has said literally several times within the last 6 months to a year that they're going to lock everything down one more time, that God is going to shake everything one more time, and that this is our last chance to go out into the harvest and reap souls. So we've seen all these different prophecies fulfilled in the previous episodes. This is episode 7, episodes 5 and 6. We looked at those compelling verses that tell us, you could say, we have, all kinds of time ahead of us, but like literally the specific prophecies say otherwise. You look at Matthew 24, the parable of the fig tree. According to Jesus, that generation that sees the rebirth of Israel, the new buds popping out on that dead fig tree, will not pass away without seeing all these things. That generation that saw the rebirth of Israel, right, 74 or 75 years ago, according to Jesus, is the last generation. So if that's the case, we've got at best 35 years, a generation, a good 100 years. We look at the Old Testament, God told Abraham that his people would be enslaved for 400 years. And so in another verse, we see God refer to that 400 years as to the fourth generation. So you break that down, that's 100 years per generation. 100 years, one generation. 100 years, two generations. 100 years, three generations. 100 years, four generations. To the fourth generation, revealing a generation in that context as being 100 years. So if Israel was reborn on May 14th, 1948, and we're that generation that saw that happen, and another that generation will not pass without seeing all these things, meaning the Great Tribulation, all of it, all these things, then we literally are running out of time quickly. So it is likely that Pastor Rodney is right, that we're going to see God shake everything one more time, that they are going to do this again. They will lock it down all over again as the Antichrist tries again with his government overreach to have everyone on the planet comply with his one world government, his one world currency, one world religion. So where are we at with time there, Google, right now? Feels like I'm just going on way past. Oh, okay. So 3:56. All right. So we're coming up on 4 minutes. I just want to thank everybody who tuned in today. So the Omni Bar, Wesley Curry says, a branded barcode is the mark of the beast. It comes with money to tempt you to join to join the one world church, Satan's church. He comments the amount is all computer dollars monitored by Taliban computers. All right. All kinds of theories out there of what the mark of the beast specifically will be. But we do see, whatever it is, we do see the technology in place right now for the Antichrist to do that. All right, Leanne West says, love you, Evangelist Larry. Love you, Evangelist Leanne. My daughter, my cohort and comrade at arms in all things end times. We spent a couple of years really looking at all kinds of end times prophecies being fulfilled. And literally we're seeing an acceleration of things right now with Ezekiel 38 and 39, countries that were already foretold that would devise an evil plan to go into Israel together and take their stuff, which literally most eschatology experts say is the Gog and Magog war that triggers the Great Tribulation. Revelation 6, the rider on the red horse, who with a mighty sword takes peace from the earth, and there's war and slaughter everywhere. So we're right on the cusp of literally seeing a few real key prophecies fulfilled. We read last week the prophecy in Zephaniah 3:2, I believe it is, about Gaza, and how God is not going to let anyone divide his land. Gaza, God prophesied over them that he would destroy them, right? These Philistine people. And so that sea coast that belonged to Israel, which is just the other side of Jerusalem, is the sea coast right there. And God said, no, that belongs to Jerusalem. So Gaza, I have all these things against you. I'm going to destroy you. You will be uninhabited. So if you look at Gaza right now, that specific prophecy is literally being fulfilled as we speak. Gaza almost what you could consider pretty uninhabited, bombed, just gutted, like hardly anything left, no electricity, barely enough food. The people are starving there already. So Trump has already proposed that they want to move them, relocate them into camps. There's already countries that have agreed to take them while they just redevelop the whole Gaza Strip. And so I doubt you'll ever see a peace treaty agreed to by Israel that is a two-state type of treaty where Israel has to give anyone any of their land. They'll never agree to it. God won't let them. God would never agree to that.